Well, it looks like we know who the starting goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs heading into the playoffs is, and the answer might surprise you. Austin Matthews is 1 goal away from his second 60-goal season, and that will make history, and the Leafs drop a terrible, terrible game to the New Jersey Devils, a very winnable game. All of that and more in this episode of Leafs Digest. Welcome back to Leafs Digest. My name is Darius Domingues, and guys, we've noticed that about 80% of you watching our videos are not actually subscribed to the channel, so do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Toronto Maple Leafs, and you're going to want to down the stretch because Nick and I are going to have you covered all the way to the playoffs. We're so close. And the Leafs in the playoffs, it is a different animal. Toronto turns upside down when the Leafs are in the playoffs. It's going to be very exciting. But let's get into the game tonight against the New Jersey Devils. And there was a lot to like in the first period and a lot to not like about the Leafs game against the Devils today. And we can really start, with the lineup and the lineup decisions. And a lot of them are not on Sheldon Keefe himself, but look at the defense in this game. We got McCabe paired with Liljegren, which I really have liked Liljegren and Edmundson together, but obviously there's been some news this morning that Morgan Rielly would miss some time, or maybe just today with a minor injury, and Edmundson wouldn't be available all week with an injury as well. So that first pairing of McCabe and Liljegren. Then you got Brody slotting back in to play with Lyubushkin and Benoit, playing with Connor Timmins back there, and of course Woll in net because Samsonov got hurt on Saturday, and it's not serious, but they're just giving him some time to recoup, and he'll probably play Thursday against the Washington Capitals at home. But that lineup is very, very interesting, and I'm not sure what Benoit has done, and he's made a couple mistakes in this game as well. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's done a lot more good for the team than bad, and he keeps getting either healthy scratch lately or slotted in there on the third pairing, which I guess it might just be a chemistry thing based on what they see in practice. I'm not sure what the science is behind that, but the starting lineup was not great, and honestly, Jake Allen was fantastic, but I think the lineup and the way Woll played, which wasn't fantastic, I didn't think he had the worst game in the world. Definitely seen him play worse and other goalies play worse, but you would like a save mixed in there. And if you take a look at the stats, not great nights for a lot of the defensemen as well. Liljegren with a hard night, terrible night. Again, like I said, Woll, you'd like to see a couple more saves, only 19 saves on the night. And if you just look up and down, I know I don't like to put too much stock into plus minus, but when you look at some of the time on ice tonight, versus the plus minus, very rough night for a lot of the defensemen. And it could just be, a lot of injuries and mixing and matching pairings. It could just come down to that, right? But anyway, the game started really well in the first period, and it started with the Bertuzzi's goal. And from Papetti, Tyler Bertuzzi's finishing ability has been much improved ever since he put tape on his stick. And they were talking about it pre-game that he's finally put tape back on his stick because he is an interesting player. I'll put it at that. Very interesting player, and his equipment choices are very interesting as well. And he's been playing most of the year without tape, and they actually put up a graphic that since he switched to tape last month, he's actually been playing his best hockey. Shocker, right? When you actually play with tape on your stick, you might actually play well. That's a shocking piece of news there. But he's been great. And again, he gets on the board. Brilliant move. Nice pass. Absolutely great pass there to set him up for the breakaway. And Domi's been playing really well. And again, his playmaking abilities have been fantastic. But unfortunately, at the end of the game, he gave a tape-to-tape pass to the wrong player. But we'll get to that. But he has been very good. And Bertuzzi with a great finish. What is there to say about that? He's finding his mojo here heading into the playoffs, so that's really nice. And Matthew Knies was, skating circles around some of the guys in the first period with some nice dekes. But again, you got to finish your chances, right? It all looks really nice and put on a nice show there in the first period, but you got to, bury your chances. And I also like Benoit in the first period too. He was throwing the body, drawing penalties with his physical play. That's exactly what the Leafs need, right? Things like that. And the Leafs, despite being down 2-1, heading into the intermission, put in a great period, I thought. They had 26 shots on goal in the first period. They were 4 shy of tying a team record for most in one period since 1965-66, that is, done in 1967 against Detroit. And the Devils go into the intermission with a 2-1 lead despite that. And I think the Devils at the time only had 7 shots on goal. So obviously you go, okay, you had a good period. We can build off this. You're only down by 1. Obviously, they got 2 not so great goals on Joseph Woll, and you can move forward. But that was not the case. Jake Allen absolutely stood on his head, and that is the reason the Devils got him. But man, you would hope that the Leafs would chip in a couple more goals there. And you know what? It was looking good for a minute. And we have to get to Nylander. We have to give Nylander his praise for this one. We'll get to Matthews in a minute as well. But Matt Sundin, his most productive season as a Leaf was 94 points. William Nylander with his goal tonight, his 40th of the season, by the way. Congrats to William Nylander. Second 40-goal season for William Nylander, and earning that paycheck and that new contract that he signed. And he really turned it on after having that slump right after he signed it, so good for him. But anyway, Nylander's most productive season as a Leaf, 94 points and counting. Still a couple more games here for Nylander to get up there and get up to 100 points. He could be the first Leaf winger to score 100 points in a very, very long time. So that is great and something we will definitely keep an eye on. And then when you move to Matthews tonight too, he gets his 59th on the year. Great effort from him. And he's 1 away from 60. Like, what do you say about that? He still could potentially get to 65. I mean, there's still, if he really turns it on like he did mid-season, he could still get to 70. It's a little bit of a long shot, but he's definitely going to hit 60, and that's going to be exciting. His second 60-goal season. Hopefully he gets it next game against the Washington Capitals. But then the game turned very ugly. Back and forth, like a couple goals back and forth. The Leafs did have the lead for a minute, but then the Devils tie the game, regain the lead as well. And Keefe was not happy. And again, I've talked about it on the channel. I love the emotion from Keefe so far this year. He's been very reserved in years past, but this year after the Meyer goal, he was absolutely giving it to the guys who were on the ice for that, giving it to the guys who were on the bench. And I mean, they should. The shots at this time were 28-14, and I know they're just shots, but you have to bury these opportunities. And not only that, you have to keep the puck out of your net. The defense was not great tonight, and you can say what you want about the goaltending. It wasn't great tonight. It wasn't, but the defense really let him down. There was a lot of missed assignments, and not only the defense too. Sorry to jump around here. The centers were missing their defensive cues as well, especially on that 4th goal, like just lost in coverage, and the Devils just capitalizing on their chances, and that's what they do. They are a very good rush team, and they will capitalize on their chances, and if you give them to them, right? If you do, and the Leafs did not capitalize on their chances in return. But anyway, to go back to the Matthews goal, as one thing, I have to say, for a guy whose reputation is not being a puck-moving defenseman, Ilya Lyubushkin with the pass of the year, and that was, borderline offside, but Matthews gets it done. That was a great play from Lyubushkin. I had to give him his flowers on that one because I did not expect it, and it was a laser beam pass, and Matthews finished it. And for a guy, again, with his reputation of not, handling the puck like a grenade, that was very good. But anyway, the game then got pretty ugly, and the Leafs you could see the Devils were trying to shut it down. The Leafs were trying to get that tying goal, send it to overtime, even though they should have been, ifs and buts, right? But the Leafs should have been up in this game for sure. They should have been playing with the lead for the majority of it, but unfortunately, they're trying to set it up in the offensive zone, and Domi with a pretty awful turnover. Jack Hughes goes the other way, makes it 5-3 Devils on a breakaway. And like Terry says here, ugly. That was an ugly scene. There was still a lot of time left in the game. If you do not turn that over, it was very possible that they tie the game, possibly win it in overtime or a shootout. But with that giveaway, pretty much squashed all the hopes of that, and it was a brutal scenes. And then the last thing too I want to mention before we wrap this up, the fact that Curtis Lazar beat out the icing at the end there. You have to go get that icing. You have to give yourself and your team a chance to set up in the offensive zone again to try and tie the game. You can still score 2 goals. You're the Leafs. If any team's going to do it, you have the firepower. So the fact that he beat out that icing was very concerning. Just an ugly game. It really turned ugly when you realized Allen was standing on his head. You knew he was going to be hot throughout the game. It just really turned on its head there. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Leafs do with the lineup the rest of the week, because Edmondson will still be out. We'll see what's up with Riley. Marner might make a return. So lots up in the air heading into Thursday's game against the Capitals and Saturday against the Sabres. And Nick and I will have you covered for everything heading into the playoffs. It's going to be very exciting, and we'll see you for another video tomorrow.